NASCAR has announced a dramatic overhaul to the Cup Series, which will begin with the next race at Michigan International Speedway. The cars will include rear damper lifters to solve track mobility concerns caused by flat tires. Could this change things up for NASCAR? The modification is in direct reaction to the problems given by NASCAR's NextGen racing cars, which are notable for sophisticated design elements like as 18-inch wheels and a single lug nut layout. These cars, however, lack an inner liner and have lower ground clearance when tires go flat, making them prone to becoming immobilized or sustaining substantial underbody damage. NASCAR collaborated with Öhlins, the series' official shock absorber suppliers, to design a lifter mechanism built into the vehicle's rear dampers. Prior to the system's debut at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a recent rules bulletin detailed its technical specifications. Elton Sawyer, NASCAR's senior vice president of competition, detailed how the new approach works. "Yeah, so it's a system on the rear of the car that works around the shock absorber," Sawyer said. "So as everyone knows, the next-gen car has just been really good for our racing. I think we've had some phenomenal racing. What came with that, and we noticed that immediately at Auto Club, Speedway, 2 years ago, was when this car has a flat tire, or four flats particularly, it can't go anywhere. You'll notice on our trucks or an Xfinity car, they'll spin out and have four flat tires and they can limp back to pit road." The lifter system has a quick connect device along the A-posts of the cars that allows track service workers to easily attach an air hose and start the lifting operation. There's a quick connect that will be connected or installed along the A-post of the Cup cars that when the track service worker gets there, they basically can take an air hose, if you will, and pump that up to the rear and the tire will lift up and then gives the drivers the ability to drive back to pit road. Today, we're having to hook them up or push them. We're way too far in the middle or deep end of having to get cars back to pit road so they can start their service. So, trying to keep that more on the team's side. As we get to the incident, plug in there, put a little air to the rear lifters that basically picks up the back of the car. Then, when they get to pit road, there's a valve there. They just hit the valve and the rear of the car will go back down. It will be interesting to see if this will help. What do you think? For now, NASCAR is on sabbatical until the weekend of August 11th. For those who appreciate and witness the sport, this is an opportunity to assess the current condition of play. There are 4 races left before the Cup Series playoffs begin, followed by 10 races to decide the champion. After 22 races, the 2024 season appears similar to 2023. Last season, Ryan Blaney won the championship race at Phoenix Raceway over Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Christopher Bell. Denny Hamlin missed the cut the week before, as he continues to hunt his career-defining first championship. As the long run begins this summer, take a look at the top 5 in the playoff points category. The cast of characters remains the same. Call them NASCAR's primary characters. What exactly does this mean? Maybe nothing, especially with this system, because 2023 regular season winner Martin Truex appeared to be on his way to the championship race until he endured the worst 10-race stretch feasible, despite the fact that he had advanced repeatedly on the basis of his regular season performance. However, it's reasonable to assume that the Fast Five, or whatever you want to name them, will be highly represented in the round of 8 and final 4. William Byron is doing the same thing he did last year, winning 3 races early and then going through a summer relax. And here is where the number 24 began to gain momentum in both cases, regardless of what occurred on Sunday at Indianapolis. Blaney appears to be in better shape than he was at this stage last year, with Ford Performance gaining traction earlier than expected in 2023. What about Larson and Hamlin? This is where both of these teams have been every year for the previous 3 years of the next-gen era, and they will be assessed once more depending on what occurs in October and November. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman are wild cards, having missed the playoffs last year due to missed races, but both have won races and showed signs of consistency, particularly Elliott, who is second in the championship standings. Those 15, 10, and 8 playoff points on down throughout the top 10 of the regular season standings might be critical in the fall months, given how many times a driver has been eliminated by no more than 5 championship points. Who will end up victorious according to you? Furthermore, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Not that the actual racing product has been a distraction from the process, but there is nothing to take attention away from NASCAR and Cup Series owners' efforts to strike a new revenue-sharing and charter deal over the next 3 weeks. Simplified, the teams seek a larger share of league broadcast and new income to reduce their reliance on sponsorship revenue and improve governance. They want their expenses to be compensated so that they can put on the NASCAR spectacle. The teams also want charters, or franchise models, to be made permanent. The league has been hesitant to provide charter permanency, and although it is willing to give clubs a higher percentage of income, the exact number has been a sticking issue, as have numerous other bullet points. It was once prepared to pay charter holders more money if NASCAR was allowed to buy a team. If the two parties do not achieve a deal before the Daytona 500 in February, the sport's basis will be severely shaken. Teams would be allowed to race elsewhere or even form their own racing league, with the Cup Series consisting of teams and drivers who are not typically associated with the Cup Series. In February, the teams recruited the best sports antitrust lawyer in the country, who arranged the landmark NCAA NIL settlement to assist them navigate this process. The assumption has always been that the two parties will reach an agreement. The team would face significant financial challenges if it departs from NASCAR's structure and branding built over the last nearly century. At the same time, NASCAR requires its most popular drivers and teams to achieve their best performances and exceed broadcast rights requirements. Again, a settlement does not need to be struck until February, but every previous deadline in the last 2 years has passed without resolution. NASCAR has also sought to negotiate individually with smaller teams in a divide-and-conquer strategy, but this has not yielded results. The teams appear to be in general agreement on what they want from NASCAR. Teams dubbed NASCAR's most recent offer last month the worst offer ever, and only delivered a counterproposal last week. Denny Hamlin, co-owner of 23XI Racing, best expressed the current situation over the weekend in Indianapolis. "It's been reported that we sent something back, and that's true," Hamlin informed the crowd. "I think now we just have to wait to see how far apart or how much closer we are. And if they never reach an agreement, no matter how implausible, the NASCAR Cup Series as we know it will come to an end." Another reason a settlement between the teams and NASCAR has to be reached is that it is impeding free agency and the silly season. Stewart-Haas Racing is closing at the end of the year and selling 3 of its 4 charters, including one that will undoubtedly go to Front Row Motorsports. However, the other 2 are being held up by the negotiating process because, while Hamlin expects him and Michael Jordan to acquire one, all indications are that a transaction is being held up until a new agreement with NASCAR. It must be extremely difficult to agree on the value of a charter since NASCAR and the teams have yet to agree on how income is allocated to those who own one. If a contract is completed, Riley Herbst will most likely move to a third 23XI vehicle to join Wallace and Reddick. Trackhouse Racing is also anticipated to receive a third charter from SHR, but it must first decide whether to go with Zane Smith, who is now leased to Spire Motorsports, or Shane Van Gisbergen, who is also under contract. Smith will not play for Spire next season because the club recruited Michael McDowell early this summer. With that stated, Smith or SVG might be leased out to Colleague Racing, similar to the deal the two teams already have with Australian Supercars champion turned NASCAR winner. Front Row Motorsports has also shown an interest in speaking with Smith, who won a Truck Series title with the team in 2022, if the musical chairs turn in their respective directions. Speaking of Colleague, both of those cars remain open-ended questions for next season, and it all boils down to sponsorship cash for both current driver Daniel Hemrick and long-standing driver AJ Allmendinger, as well as the partnership with Trackhouse. Ryan Preece, SHR, and Harrison Burton, Wood Brothers, who were just released from their present rides, have some funds, but must decide whether to pursue a career in winning Xfinity Series cars or with a lesser-known Cup Series outfit. However, most of this is predicated on NASCAR and the teams establishing a new agreement. Will they find this anytime soon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.